What should AEW do with Mercedes Mone? Hello, it's the WrestleTalk podcast. I'm Pete Quinnell. I'm joined by a Canadian man.
I'm the Mountie. Happy Canada Day. The mods were so nice to put Happy Canada Day Tempest on the Omegachats list. So thank you, mods, and Happy Canada Day to all you fine people out there in Canada. Only. And everyone else have a bad day.
Everyone else have a bad Canada Day, okay? Yeah. If it's your first time here on the WrestleTalk podcast, please consider subscribing, leave a like on the video, send in your thoughts if you want to hear, if you want to do some stuff, you know?
I do, in fact.
If you want to hear your thoughts read out on the air, then send in an Omegachat to us at WrestleTalk.com/support. We're going to read out all of those messages that are $5 and up by the time the show goes off the air. Now let's talk about, because it was Forbidden Door yesterday, it's what we're reviewing, 2024, LIW for life.
Yeah.
Hey, we're back. Isn't that nice? It's LIW.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. And we're going to talk about Forbidden Door 2024 today. Now, there was a lot that happened on this show. There were 15 matches on this show.
They really needed to add that extra one.
5 on the 0 hour, 10 on the main card. But we are going to talk about, for me, what I think, because there's a lot of just like, this match was good on this show, or like this match had this thing that could have been improved, or whatever, that was on this show. But for me, the most like curious, the most like interesting part of the show to me was this Mercedes Mone, TBS, New Japan Strong Women's title, Stephanie Vaquer title match.
And subsequent return of Britt Baker.
Because during the course of this match, it starts off and, you know, people are chanting CEO and, you know, everyone's having a good time. But the more the match goes on, and the match itself I thought was, all right.
A good little match.
Yeah, a good little match. Nothing crazy bad, nothing crazy amazing. It was just like a good, solid graps, you know? But the more and more the match went on, the more people started booing Mercedes Mone. And
you could hear 10,000 New Yorkers slowly realize, wait a minute, she's from Boston.
Oh my God!
Which is hilarious, given that at one point early in the match, the commentators tried to make a point that, oh, well, Mercedes kind of has like a hometown advantage here because Boston's close to New York. In what way is someone from Boston going to get a hometown reception in New York? But go on.
So the match goes on longer and longer, and people start booing Mercedes more and more. And as a consequence of that, they start cheering Stephanie Vaquer more and more because they're like, oh, we don't like Mercedes Mone. Now, there's a very strong possibility that is because boo Boston. We do not like Boston. Boo.
Well, the F the Celtics and F the Red Sox chants are my evidence to point to on that matter.
Yeah, I'd say so. There is also the other option, which is the more nuclear option. I don't know how much I believe in it or not. The people just aren't really feeling this Mercedes Mone run so far. I don't know if this is an isolated incident, if it's just this crowd, because New York and Boston and everything that had this reaction to Mercedes Mone, or if it's like a more indicative problem of the run so far. Because that's been a fairly common criticism so far, is that like, well, she's not really done much, and then she won the TBS title, and it's kind of been... It hasn't captivated me, is what I'd say, the run so far. And I didn't know whether this was just like the tip of the iceberg, just being like the culmination of like, this is fine, and we want better than fine for as big a star as Mercedes Mone, or whether it is just the one crowd that's like, we don't like you because Boston. What do you think? Which side do you fall on this one?
I think it's a little of column A, a little of column B. Because overall, probably like main event and a couple other matches aside, I thought this crowd sucked. I thought this was a bad crowd for quite a decent amount of this show. Either not super involved or entertaining themselves like you saw in this match. Like, by the end of this Mercedes Mone Stephanie Vaquer match, like, they were making more noise, which I suppose in a way is better than what it was at the beginning, in which I was like, this might be top 5 most silent crowds I've ever heard.
Oh, there were Corpus Christi.
Yeah, and that one Lafayette, Louisiana Raw, you know the one with the 4 NXT call-ups. But, so I wasn't a fan of this Long Island crowd for a lot of. I thought the chanting for sports teams while these two women are trying to wrestle was at times disrespectful, and it was really starting to piss me off. You know, I get it. I don't like Boston. I don't like their sports teams, but I also don't like the Knicks either. So suck it up. You all suck, especially the NBA champion Boston Celtics. But my deal here with all of this is I don't want to put that much blame on them for this one specific match being quiet early on.
Yeah.
Because what have they been given to invest in is my problem. Like, and we were talking about this in the predictions, and I heard lots of different people talk about this, whether it be, you know, Meltzer and Garrett Gonzalez on their show or wherever. Stephanie Vaquer had like a match in the build to this, and otherwise it's been a lot of video packages or backstage deals. They may have had a stare down, but that's about it. That's not enough for this audience who's being introduced to a lot of people that they probably see once or twice a year to begin with. And all credit to Stephanie Vaquer. I thought she did a very good job in this match. Like, the actual work in the match I thought was very good. But, like, she doesn't bring the name value that people are just going to be into the match just because she's there. I know there's, you know, the political reasons why this wouldn't happen. But if this match was instead like Mercedes versus Julia, for example, right? Probably enough people in that crowd would hear that name and just be hot because, oh my God, that's a huge match. On paper, this doesn't really seem like a huge match. And AEW didn't really do too much to promote it beyond what it is on paper. Beyond Mercedes is going to win the title that was created for her a year ago, and it's a foregone conclusion that she's going to win this match. They didn't do anything in the time leading up to this pay-per-view, and when you consider that it was about 2 months before Mercedes had her first match in AEW to begin with, and since then I think she's had maybe 2 or 3 on TV, like, there's just not enough there. So I don't necessarily blame them for, like, turning on Mercedes, who I think is a better heel than babyface anyway.
100%.
You know, so the roles make a bit more sense that way. But it was just kind of a really awkward formula that didn't make for a really fun atmosphere.
Yeah. I think that's my thing is, like, it just felt a bit off the whole time, you know? And I don't know whether that is just the crowd leading me in that direction or whether I would have felt that way anyway, regardless of the crowd reaction. But something does just feel a little... It's not quite connecting quite right. Do you think, if this isn't an isolated crowd incident, and maybe we go to Dynamite and maybe they're still a bit like, oh, we don't really want to see you hold 2 belts. We don't really want to see this version of Mercedes Mone. Do you think they should turn her heel?
I mean, I think they should do that anyway.
Yeah.
You know, like the, oh my God, Mercedes Mone is here hype has pretty much worn off.
Yeah.
So I think it would probably be in a lot of people's best interest if she turned heel and could lean into what makes her, you know, really great, what made her great in NXT and on the main roster and every which place she's gone. She's been a heel.
Yeah.
I think that is her character. It works a lot better. Who wants to cheer for a babyface CEO?
Yep.
You know? I think we need to get there. Obviously, Britt Baker being added back into the mix, I think is going to help with that if they so choose to go that direction. Because Britt Baker, although also very good as a heel, has been gone for long enough that if this is a match to build to Wembley, for example... You know, it's a couple months and you can have babyface Britt Baker going against Mercedes Mone, the heel. And I think that will lead to a much hotter match. And granted, that is the sort of change that we would be looking for and would have praised leading up to this. Like all the things that I'm saying about not giving enough to bite into for this Mercedes and Stephanie match, I do think there's a lot more there when it comes to a Britt Baker Mercedes Mone match because both will be on TV and... You know, they'll be able to do just more stuff in general. So I think some of the fix is right in front of us. But I gotta see it happen too. You know, there's directions that things are that are not guaranteed right now that I think very much could help AEW with this, maybe a one-off issue. Maybe she'll come out on Wednesday and be super over and everyone's cheering and chanting CEO. But I'd hedge my bets that probably the longer we do this, the more crowds are going to turn on her.
Yeah, I think so as well. But I mean, like we said before, the actual work rate in the match I think was pretty good. It was a fun little finish, lots of counter sequences ending with Vaquer tapping. And then almost immediately afterwards, like, she holds up the belts and she's like, yeah, I got double belts. Oh, God, Britt Baker.
Yeah.
Very quickly, she comes out and Britt Baker just stares her down from the ramp, leading to that potential next feud. Do you think that is a Wembley feud?
I think so.
Yeah.
We've wondered about different matches for different people, and the Wembley card seems to be not quite what anybody expected early on, maybe. Like, there's still... I wouldn't have guessed that Will Ospreay and MJF were going to wrestle each other at Wembley, if you had told me to fantasy book the card 6 months ago. So everything's kind of just been like, okay, well, let's wait and see. And for that to be the next pay-per-view after this match gets set up, I would like to imagine they're going to save one of the bigger name versus name matches they've got for the big show of the year rather than just doing it on Dynamite. But they have done that before, so you never know.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see it at Wembley. If I'm going to be biased and I'm going to be there, I'd like to watch that one.
That's the thing. You start getting to this point where it's like, okay, as a paying customer,
yes,
as a ticket buyer,
what do I want to see?
What do I want to see on this show?
Exactly, yeah. But anyway, let's see what you guys think, shall we? Let's do some Omega chatting. Send in your thoughts to WrestleTalk.com/support. Sorry, I was reading mod messages while I'm trying to do this, which is always a bad idea, because then you just start reading out the things that you're reading. That's a bad call. But anyway, send them in to WrestleTalk.com/support. We're going to read out all the messages that are $5 and up by the time the show goes off the air. Hannah Allen said, LIW 444 Life. Well, hello, lovelies. The wrestling on the show was effing awesome. There was some decent women's storytelling, but let's be real, that was a typical Forbidden Door show. I'm loving this Buck stuff. The pre-match vid was pure cheese, and I ate it up. Their work in the match complements their storytelling so well, and Okada elevates everything in my opinion. Dragon vs. Dragon, effing spectacular. Nigel's earning their match. Giddy.
Yeah.
That is what that says. Storm vs. Mina is about Toni vs. May, and I'm looking forward to it. Zack Sabre Jr. vs. OC is wrestling excellence. I'm a weirdo, and I like this Chris Jericho stuff. Love the Joe faction. Ladder match was fun, but it didn't move me like other things on the show. It's a ladder match. FFS. Lol. I'm more excited to see Jack write his story. Monet vs. Vaquer was brilliant, not connecting with Monet. Perfect timing for Britt to come back for me. Mox vs. Naito was strong AF. Ospreay vs. Strickland was effing pure gold. Their respect for each other and wrestling. OMG, chef's kiss. Lots of love. Jam that jam. Lots of thoughts. Thank you very much.
Lots of thoughts.
Thank you very
Many
much,
of which
Allen.
we will get to in the reviews and such.
Absolutely. Got lots of thoughts as well.
Yes.
Kevin also has some thoughts, who says, I'm sure I'm definitely the first one to tell you this, and no one has said it before, but there were massive chants of F the Celtics and F the Red Sox, so I think the boos were massive because of the Boston-NY rivalry. However, the lack of reaction for the rest of the match was telling. I think the Britt feud can be a good thing to finally establish Monet's character in AEW, something they should have done in the Willow feud. Overall, good show. I love the main event. Willow's proving in his AEW run that he's a great storyteller as well as an amazing in-ring wrestler. Swerve is doing a great job as champion. Okada dancing behind Nick was amazing, and that Judas elbow from Hook was sick.
I mean, a lot of that is what basically point for point what we had got. So great minds, Kevin.
100%.
Yeah, Will is a great storyteller.
Sure is.
And if you ever seen his matches with Michael Oku over the last few years, you would absolutely know that as well.
Yes. Stevie Howland said, maybe I'm missing something, but this feels like a natural progression for Monet's character rather than a problem they need to deal with. It seemed like heel was the end goal from the moment she started a program with Willow.
I don't necessarily disagree.
Yeah.
Like, I think regardless of fan reaction, eventually you're going to get Mercedes as a heel.
Mm-hmm.
Like Kevin said, I think what's more telling is the complete lack of reaction in the first half of the match.
Yes.
That was my big problem with it. Like, I didn't like the anti-Boston stuff. I mean, in general, I do. Screw those teams that they said. But otherwise, like, they didn't care.
Yeah.
And one way to get people to care is to make you hate them. So, a natural progression in that sense as well.
Yeah. Space Viking says, Monet needs to turn heel, but I do think Taz and Nigel were right. The combination of Stephanie being awesome and Boston being the worst was a bad combo. Screw the Celtics. Anyway, I think this will add more fuel to the Monet hate, especially with DMD back. Indeed. Which is probably a good thing if you want to turn a heel. You know, it's actually not a bad... You can use this, you know? We're not saying this is like, end of the world, whatever. We're saying there's something here. Use it. Use it, you know? Use it. Exactly. Andy Sandbox also has thoughts, who says, I heavily disagree with choosing to lead with whether or not Mercedes is working. You all don't regularly recognize sports, but Mercedes is directly from Boston, hence the Celtics' chance. And Stephanie Vaquer looks so insanely awesome that how do you not cheer for her?
I don't recognize sports.
Never. You're not a sportsman.
Yeah.
You know how she looks awesome? Mercedes is also awesome and sold her ass off for her. I don't care if they expected boos or not. That fanbase was conserving energy and they were invested in the match quietly. Now that Britt Baker is back and is on that Adam Cole diet, holy S word, I'm sure we can expect that to be the all-in match. So I'm looking forward to asking what you guys think about the potential of Britt versus Monet at all-in. Love you guys. Also, I'm a sicko who enjoys 6-hour pay-per-views. You're nuts. My final thoughts on this match are that Stephanie should be poached immediately and given the red carpet after this. She's probably the best women's wrestler on the planet that I've never seen, and it's thanks to AEW cross-promotion that I watched her. Well, that is the benefit of Forbidden Door, is you get to see a lot of talent that you wouldn't otherwise, which is great.
Absolutely. I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinions and things. You're allowed to disagree with things. The only thing that I would point out that I just don't agree with at that point is like investing quietly. I don't think that's a thing.
No.
Sure, you might be the person that goes to a show and doesn't like to cheer or boo or chant or anything like that. But there were people, like, this crowd came alive for the main event.
Yeah.
Because they cared about the main event.
Yeah.
They didn't care about this.
Yeah. And I think you can tell the difference. There's some matches where, like, the crowd has gone really quiet for specific moments because they're, like, on the edge of their seat waiting for the thing, and then they go, oh, when the big spot happens.
Yeah.
This was just kind of quiet for a lot of it.
Yeah. Until they realized there was a guy in a Celtics shirt in the front row that they could aim their hate at.
Exactly.
And distract themselves a little bit.
So, yes, I agree with you. But Will Campbell said, hi, guys. New York crowds are a bit unique. Unique's a great word for it. Doesn't matter what you're portrayed as. If we don't like you or think it's fun, we will boo. Plus, there's the whole intercity rivalry between New York and Boston. Side note, being there for the Britt return was awesome. That's great.
I'd imagine so. There's nothing quite like a proper surprise return pop. You know, being there in the crowd for something like that. It's awesome.
100%. Golden Knights fan 84 said, hey Tempest to Pete, for weeks I've been saying that Mercedes isn't working, and for weeks you guys have been saying it's not that bad and it's getting over. Well, do the boos from last night prove that what I've been saying for weeks has been right all along? Maybe. That's kind of what this whole discussion has been about.
Yeah.
I don't know yet. I guess we're kind of going to have to wait for Dynamite, I think.
Well, this is the sort of thing, right? Like, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't with wrestling, because if you judge something 3 weeks ago and don't give it the benefit of the doubt or let it play out or whatever, then that portion of, you know, the wrestling fandom gets on you. But if you wait too long, then it's like, oh, well, you were saying this 3 weeks ago. Now you got to roll with it. You know, at this point, we're reevaluating a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
That's going to happen.
You have your opinion, and then it morphs and changes over time when things happen.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Unknown Super Chat.
You'll be extradited from the YouTube Wrestling Reviewer Council if you change your opinion on something. You know how this works.
Absolutely, yeah. I still don't like WrestleMania 39, and that can never change. Doesn't matter what happened at WrestleMania 40. My opinion can't change, except for the fact it did. Unknown Super Chat. Sorry, please send us your username.
I think that is their username.
Unless that is your username. In which case, well played. It says, it doesn't surprise me that she got booed, because if there's anything New Yorkers hate more than the general populace, it's the population of Boston. It's like the learning tree being over because Canada. Should have been the LB instead of TLT on the card.
Lucha Brothers instead of the learning tree.
Makes sense.
I completely agree with that.
Yes, 100%. That match was rad. James Markins using his mod chat says, I don't think it's a big deal because, well, it was New York. And if there's two things New Yorkers hate, it's Chicago deep dish pizza and all things Boston. You know, I'm getting the vibe, now correct me if I'm wrong, from a lot of these Omega chats that have been sent in. I'm getting the vibe that Bostoners and New Yorkers...
Bostonians,
Bostonites, and New Yorkians don't like each other.
What would give you that
someone
impression?
I'm picking up. I think it's pretty subtle. I don't think anyone's actually mentioned it yet in the Omega chats, but, you know, just a vibe I'm picking up, you know?
Be a Blue Jays fan and hate both of them.
Anyways, great pay-per-view. Say what you want about AEW, but they have been killing it on pay-per-view this year. 11 out of 10 show. Also, happy Canada Day, Tempest.
Thank you, Mountie. Yeah.
Woohoo. Kuzu said, I was present at the show last night. Think we weren't given enough to care about, but Stephanie won us over, eventually being so good, and then we remembered Mone's from Boston. But yeah, it took a while for us to get invested in the match.
That's it.
That checks it out, right? Yeah.
You know, I don't want my point to be lost in all of this, that not caring about this match is the fault of the promotion.
Yes, exactly.
You know?
Yes, 100% agree. We will get to the rest of your Omega chats later on in the show. Keep sending those into WrestleTalk.com/support. But for now, we're going to review the rest of the show, which is a lot of matches. So we'll zoom through the 0 hour because they were there. We had Serpentico versus Carl Fletcher. Why was this on the show? Carl Fletcher won in a matter of minutes with a brainbuster on the turnbuckle, which looked, admittedly, very cool, but this didn't need to be here.
It was an empty building. People were still finding their seats. And that was true for most of this.
Yeah.
But, like, there was maybe 1,000 people in the building for this match.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why would you do this?
We then had a 4-way tag match. We had Private Percy versus Gabe Kidd and Roderick Strong. Private Purdy versus Gabe Kidd and Roderick Strong versus Kyle O'Reilly and Tomohiro Ishii versus House of Black. And Ishii was rad, because he always is. All of his stare-downs with Brody King. Amazing.
Ishii and Kyle O'Reilly walked in tandem the same way on
It
their
was
way to the
good.
ring. Might have been my favorite part of the match.
Yeah, Brody King and Ishii getting into it was awesome, and Brody King won decisively in the end, which was very cool.
Shout out to former Survival Series contestant Gabe Kidd being on this show.
Yeah.
He tried to kill me.
He did, yeah. True story. Willow Nightingale and Tam Nakano beat Chris Statlander and Momo Watanabe. A little match. Nakano got the win with the Hammerlock German suplex at the end.
I thought this match was very well worked.
It was, yeah.
I was very surprised that the babyfaces won. As I stated on the predictions, it feels like they'll do Chris Stat and Willow at Wembley, potentially. I know they're going to wrestle in the tournament, but like they'll go again. There's time.
I feel like then Stat might win in the tournament.
I thought she'd win here.
Yeah.
Which I guess, like, it's kind of 50-50-ish.
Right? Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. It's fine. Like, ultimately, it's a pre-show match.
Yeah.
One of 15 matches on the show. It's not going to mean that much.
No.
You know, the Joshi girls got the pin on one another. So it's not like Willow just pinned Chris Stat and got her revenge or anything like that.
Yeah.
I will say, though, Chris Statlander's entrance got a big pop from one Holly Musgrave. She was like, that person's really cool. And their entrance and everything is really cool.
Yeah.
And it's just good song, good video package and everything. So good presentation for Chris Stat, winning over the casuals.
I agree. We had the most consequential match on the pre-show, which was Mariah May versus Saraya. That's not the most consequential one, because this one had actual stakes on it. Because it was the Women's Owen Hart Tournament first round match of Mariah May and Saraya. Mariah rolled up Saraya after a little while. Saraya looked like she was going to be winning, but Mariah May just got the ropes. They managed to roll her up. Well, it was a good little match. It's fine. Yeah.
You know, it's fine little match.
Yeah.
We all kind of assume that Mariah May is going to win the Owen Hart Cup, so this was a little inevitable, but you have to do it to get there.
Absolutely.
And I'm just happy that Mariah May beat Saraya on the last day of Pride.
Yeah. Also, it's May versus Shida next round.
It's going to be real good.
Sounds fun. We then had the main event of 0 hour.
Boy, was it.
Titan, Hiromu Takahashi, and Yota Tsuji versus Mystico and the Lucha Brothers. This is the first time I've seen Titan wrestle.
Oh, he's real good.
He's real good, isn't he? God, that opening bit with him and Phoenix. Oh, bit of fun, that. He is a quick man.
He's very quick. He's got a real unique way of moving.
Yes.
And everyone in this match kind of does. You know, and I guess that's just kind of like everybody's sort of unique. But like, Hiromu's got a very unique way of moving. Mystico has a very unique way of moving that I've only ever seen him do.
Yep.
He kind of floats.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah. But Titan, in particular, I like to single him out in all of this because I saw very correct people on Twitter and such last night saying that, like, no one in any promotion is pushing Titan as hard as he should be.
Right.
You know?
He's great.
The most he's done in New Japan is make it to the best of the Super Junior final and lose, which, granted,
pretty good.
That's better than a lot of people have done, especially as of late. But, you know, he lost, and he's never been junior champion. He's not really in the mix. He's just kind of a guy. And CMLL pushes him as a mid-carder, too. Like, this guy deserves a run somewhere, because he's awesome. Yeah. He's fantastic. And his, like, tilt-a-whirl tornado DDTs in this match were some of the highlights of everything, with all the flips and dives and this and that. It's just a real nice, crisp tornado DDT from this guy that really stuck out in my mind.
100%. Mystico got the win in the end with La Mystica on Titan. Very fun match.
Yeah, this should have been on the main card.
I agree. This was real good.
This was one of the most Forbidden Door matches of the entire night.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, this is 3 different promotions. And, like, you know, to a lot of people, the AAA CMLL stuff probably doesn't mean as much to them. Just, you know, it's not featured prominently on AEW, for example. But seeing Mystico team up with the Lucha Brothers is a really big deal to those who care. And seeing that go against this group, LIJ, who I love, and Hiromu Takahashi remaining one of my favorite wrestlers in the world, was like, oh, this ticked all my boxes of like a really cool, unique sort of match. And yeah, it was inconsequential, but I would also feel that way about a few matches on this card.
In an unrelated note, let's talk about the main show, which kicked off with Hechicero versus MJF. Now, this is my first time watching Hechicero. He's really fun.
He is.
I really enjoyed his offense here. So many, like, in the same way, and this is an obvious comparison to make, but in the same way that you see, like, really unique stuff from Zack Sabre Jr., where it's just like, oh, these are really cool, like, roll-ups and counters that I don't normally see. He had a similar kind of thing here, where he'd, like, do this crazy roll-up while holding onto them to get into, like, a back suplex. I'm like, how did you get there?
Yeah.
What just happened? Really, really cool. Some really unique offense that I hadn't seen before. He's great. That was my impression coming out of this match, because really, this was MJF performing in Long Island, so hometown, and then he played the hits. He was just MJF. Did the, you know, the let's do a handshake. Haha, I'm a heel, actually.
I think I've seen that bit 4 times since he's come back.
Yeah. And it's like, I want a bit more from MJF. And we know he's capable of doing a lot more. Feels like this is just kind of, you're just playing the hits. You know, there wasn't any development on any of those spots. It was just the same thing. Did the little eye poke and all that stuff. And he won with a Panama Sunrise and a Brainbuster. You know, the match never felt like it reached that higher gear. And I'm not saying it necessarily needed to. Like, not every match on this card needs to be a big blowaway, whatever the hell. Why not,
though?
Because it's 15 matches. You can't have all of them go half an hour.
They don't have to go half an hour, but they can all be 4 stars.
That's true. Yeah. It just felt like there was a higher gear that it wasn't reached. You just played the hits and then it just ended. You know?
This was my thoughts and feelings on the match in general, you know, and it is really because I said on the predictions that I was really looking forward to this match. I said it was like potentially like one of those sleeper hit sort of matches, because MJF got a lot of flack at the end of last year for not... He had a bad end to his year.
Yes.
You know, his title reign ran out of steam because of the ending of the Adam Cole storyline.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a secret. A lot of people were done with it by the time it ended. So he comes back after 6 months off or whatever it was. And my thinking was like, okay, this is a chance to kind of like ingratiate yourself with the hardcore fans again.
Yes.
Because he's not going straight into the world title program, and I know some people have issues with that and everything, but like, you know, other stuff's going on elsewhere. I understand. But it means that you can go out there and you can have matches with people like Roosh, with people like Hechicero, and insert a few other of the fan favorites of the real hardcore wrestling community and pull off a bunch of bangers and get yourself back in their good graces. And I thought the Roosh match was really fun. But he went in there against Hechicero and just had a match.
Yeah.
And I was kind of expecting a lot more. And it gave me, and granted, not the same thing exactly. It's a bit apples to oranges. But I got kind of the same feeling when I watched him at Forbidden Door last year against Tanahashi. Granted, Tanahashi is a husk. And that pains me.
Yep.
One of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Hechicero's not. And he still just had, like, the fine opening match, like a 3-star opener, when I've seen him in the opener of pay-per-views having one of the best matches of the year.
Yeah.
He's capable of it, but sometimes it feels like he just doesn't want to try that hard.
Mm-hmm.
And he can still put on a 3-star match, not trying. He's sort of like Randy Orton from 10 years ago in that sense. But the best AEW pay-per-views are when you start with like a 4.5-star match and keep that momentum going through all of it, not start with a match that's, it's fine, and try to build.
Mm-hmm.
It was I don't want to say a weak opener, but for AEW pay-per-view standards this year in particular, when you've got other matches to, layer it against, whether it's, Christian and Daniel Garcia or Okada and Pac that start off real hot, this was just there.
Yeah.
It was fine.
Yeah. And maybe they were anticipating that the crowd would have carried it to more, but they didn't.
Yeah.
They liked MJF. But it wasn't like a, oh my god, hometown pop, amazing, huge crowd reaction the whole time. They were like, yeah, MJF, good time.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that was it. This is what I would expect from any crowd, not a Long Island crowd,
Yeah.
The crowd that like turned was the babyface for MJF when he was full heel,
Yes.
This just felt like a crowd that liked him.
Yeah.
Rather than a hometown crowd, We then got a Young Bucks propaganda video package, which I really enjoyed. I think this is very funny. And basically how they were saying that Matthew and Nicholas Jackson essentially invented the Forbidden Door.
The fact that Kenny's face was blurred out in all of the old footage was peak comedy to me.
Very funny. Very good stuff. Very much enjoyed it. It was the Elite versus Scissor Ace, Tanahashi and the Acclaimed. Scissor Me Daddy Ace. Actually quite funny. There was one bit in this match which I really enjoyed, which was Nick Jackson had taken Max Caster's headphones. Matt Jackson had it at one point, then Nick Jackson took it, and then they were chanting at him, and then he just shouted over them and says, "I can't hear you, you dumbasses," was pretty funny, because he had the headphones on. It was great.
Meanwhile, Okada's in the back
yeah.
being a DJ.
Yeah, which, again, funny. Lots of EVP shenanigans in this one. Match started off kind of slow, but it was fun. I liked the fact that the match was built around Okada and Tanahashi. Like, they were the ones who had all the history going into this. And it started off with Okada and Tanahashi, and Okada tagged out because boo heel. And it ended with Okada and Tanahashi, which was good. It was a nice, like, full circle. Like, these are the two guys we want to see wrestling. There you go. Acclaim got cleared out, and then it looked like Tanahashi was going to come back all by himself, but then Okada just hit him with a Rainmaker and won. It was a fine little match, but, again, it's fine. Good. I don't have too many complaints, but I don't have many compliments.
I've got some complaints. And I know, like, again, this match was fine.
Yeah.
It was fine. However, if you're going to put 15 matches on a pay-per-view, you need better than fine. I have grown weary of this Elite group, and I was dead into it coming out of Revolution.
Yeah.
Like the succession thing leading into the match with Darby and Sting, I thought was fantastic. And then the introduction of Okada as the new member of the Elite, I thought was fantastic. A really interesting direction to take him that I wasn't quite expecting. What a fun swerve. Things like that. And since then, boy, am I just kind of like hoping it continues that level of quality. Because I wasn't super into the FTR ladder match. And I wasn't super into the build for Anarchy in the Arena. And I groaned outright when they announced they're doing Blood and Guts and just doing it again. And now they're just doing this trios match. And I've watched a lot of the Young Bucks over the years. Ring of Honor, PWG, New Japan, all this sort of things. And I've seen them be babyfaces and heels. And I think most people would agree that they're better as heels than they are as babyfaces. However, in my opinion, the best work that they have done as heels are like when they did that first Forbidden Door match as Bullet Club Young Bucks back for a night. And they teamed up with El Phantasmo to face Darby and Shingo and Sting.
Yep.
And they can go out there and they can be obnoxious, bumping goofballs who are also the best tag team in the world, who can just like, all right, we're going to turn that off, be serious, and here's 30 minutes of the best tag team wrestling you'll see all year. I've not seen that from them outside of the Darby and Sting match this year at all.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the comedy, but there's none of the great wrestling. And I know they can do it, but I don't think anybody at this point in time cares about the Acclaimed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Max Caster had one of his better raps, but like I'm kind of over the whole shtick at this point. They're going to have their tag title match, and they're the kind of the de facto best opposing team in the division right now, and that feels a little weak. And I don't know, the whole thing just feels a bit flat to me now. And when Okada came in and he joins the group, I was really excited, and he wins the Continental Championship, and I'm like, cool, title matches regularly. And he had a great match with Pac at Dynasty, and I was like, this is going to be awesome. No more of this, like, oh, 3-star Okada. And now he's just doing, like, trios matches or whatever's on pay-per-view, and maybe that'll be different at Wembley. Maybe it'll have a big singles match, and it'll blow everybody away, and I'll take back everything I've said. But this match didn't really do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I was watching on Twitter and people were just kind of like, man, this show's off to a real slow start.
Mm-hmm.
One of these after another. And the New Japan in me was kind of happy, kind of sad to see, Okada and Tanahashi
Mm-hmm.
doing their shtick.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely the emotional crux of the match for sure.
Definitely.
And it's, it is what it is, seeing Tanahashi barely be able to move these days. But, it happens. It's what you get for putting a whole promotion on your back for a decade and a half. Eventually, your knees will buckle. I get it. But it was just fine. I think Max Caster was in this match just kind of treading water. Like everybody else in this match either was fantastic or is fantastic. And Max Caster didn't really add too much to me.
Mm-hmm.
I might feel like I'm singling the guy out a little bit, but like outside of a few comedy spots here and there and like Okada being really funny, I didn't think there was too much to this one.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got exponentially worse afterwards when who should make the save and run off Okada but 62-year-old Billy Gunn.
Mm-hmm.
Why is Okada begging off from Billy Gunn, who put the boots to Jay White in a not competitive match just a few months ago that ended in DQ?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but with my entire chest, I need Billy Gunn to fuck off. You know what I mean? He's a blight upon this roster. And I swear to God, if he goes 50-50 with Okada on Dynamite,
he will. He will.
I'm going to lose my mind.
He will. He will.
I'm going to lose it. And I'm sat here in the friggin' July heat in a Mountie outfit. I've already lost it.
I turned the aircon off as well. Do you want to talk about a match that you really enjoyed?
Please.
Bryan
Because,
Danielson.
my God, this show needed saving, and then the saviors arrived.
Bryan Danielson versus Shingo Takagi was rad. Loved this. First round of the men's Owen Hart tournament, and this was a really simple story of Danielson's neck. Ouch.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the whole thing.
That is your 3 count, 3 words or less for this match.
Right.
Danielson's neck. Ouch.
That's it. That's all you need. And it is a very simple story, but god damn it, it is compelling. Because Takagi just targeted it from the off. Like, he did a thing off the apron, did this big, like, swinging neck breaker, brainbuster type thing off the apron. It looked awesome.
It looked like it was meant to be a swinging neck breaker, but turned into a swinging DDT.
Yeah.
Which I was like, oh god, please, not this match. I can't have this go wrong.
Yeah.
And also, please, Bryan, save your neck and your head.
It's just a great story of Bryan's neck, like, just about holding up. Like, he came out with suction cut marks all over him and so much tape all along his neck and shoulders and everything. And I was like, okay, there's his video game weak spot, Great. And it just should make for a great tournament-long story. Danielson kicked out of a pumping bottle made in Japan, which was really cool. Takagi kicked out of the Psycho knee. There was some great, like, facial selling of Danielson during that moment, which commentary called out as well. Like, when he was lining up for it and doing the yes chants and stuff, and he just kind of looked like, oh no, my neck's really hurting, actually. I don't know if I can do this. And it was really cool, because then Takagi kicked out the knee, which is great. And it was like, oh, is that like a thing where he didn't like connect as much as he wanted to? Because he was holding back, because he didn't know if his neck was going to be okay. It was cool, like, subtle storytelling within the simple story, the obvious story. Great finish too. They did a spot earlier where Danielson went for a triangle choke and Takagi countered it into a powerbomb. But this time, Danielson did the triangle into an armbar and then Takagi tapped. And I was like, that's great. Again, set up and payoff.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. Great stuff. Love the match.
Simple storytelling done effectively, layered on top of two of the best wrestlers in the entire world having a match.
Yeah.
That is the business. That is the art of all of this. I really enjoyed this match. I thought, obviously, Bryan Danielson and Shingo Takagi are fantastic workers. Newsflash. I don't know if you've noticed. Where are you going?
I'm putting the aircon on.
Oh, he's leaving.
It's for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But I don't know if you've noticed. There's a bit of a trend I've noticed going around Twitter of people, engagement farming things and being like, this person's the best seller ever. And it's a bunch of things of them bumping, because Twitter doesn't know the difference between selling and bumping and blah, blah, blah.
100%.
This was one where I looked at it and went, my God, Bryan Danielson's a good seller.
Yep.
Which, again, newsflash.
Newsflash.
But just like every little thing. And it goes... I could pull out a million examples of Bryan Danielson being great at selling. Remember when he got his knee caught in the stage thing and everyone for like 2 days thought that he was just absolutely screwed?
Yep.
Like he'd ended his career and he just went, no, I just wanted to do an angle where I get my leg caught. It doesn't really need to lead to anything. I just wanted to play with people.
Yeah.
See,
now that is what I want, the kind of stuff that I want MJF to do.
Right.
I want him to have something new, something unique that we haven't seen before. And I'm not saying that he should be Bryan Danielson, but just something that's not just the MJF classics. Yeah. Sorry, side point. Continue.
No, I mean, it more people should be like Bryan Danielson.
Yeah, they should. Yeah.
We'd have a lot more brilliant wrestlers. Not to say MJF isn't, but yeah, this was just, again, it's very simple. It's a tournament match. Whoever's going to be the better wrestler moves on, and thankfully you have two of the best wrestlers in the entire world to do it. I think Shingo Takagi is criminally underpushed. New Japan, looking at you. This man should be one of the most pushed people in the promotion, and just hasn't been. He had his run with the title in the pandemic, and that's it. Why he's not had one since? I would run this match back at the Tokyo Dome with the belt on Shingo. They're not going to do that because you'd have to do a lot of different stuff. But, I would pay to see this match again and again and again because it's great. And it's simple pro wrestling. Just who's the better man. And then you weave in all of these different, is his neck hurt? All these different bits. And Shingo being I don't want to even say surprisingly, but a much better call and response wrestler with the crowd, doing the yes chants himself and, giving them one of these and really playing with them, taking on the role of the heel here after Bryan had suffered the injury. Because originally, they haven't been shaking hands on TV, so there hasn't been a lot of friendly competition behind all this. Shingo has been the heel, but for the most part, he's a special attraction wrestler. There's not that much reason to boo him. You go into this, however, and all of a sudden he starts giving you a reason, which just, again, adds another layer onto the dynamic and makes it that much bigger when Bryan overcomes it. A very, very, very good little match here. I really enjoyed it, and thank God, because this pay-per-view was sorely needing it at this point.
Yep. Really great match. I loved it. After that, we had Toni Storm versus Mina Shirakawa for the custody of Mariah May, I believe. And Toni Storm came out as a Statue of Liberty. I thought that was pretty funny. Pretty good. Liked that a lot. Again, this was another match where I don't really have that many thoughts. I thought it was good. Good little match, It didn't offend me, but it wasn't amazing. It was just a good match. Toni Storm won with a Storm Zero.
It did. The finish did come out of nowhere to me. In the sense that I was waiting for an angle that never happened.
Yes. I get what you mean, yeah.
I thought this was probably the best singles match that Toni has had as champion. It's between this or maybe the Thunder Rosa match. She's had some good ones as of late. She's really found her groove in terms of maybe you lay off a little bit of the character stuff during the match, and hype up just you're a great wrestler.
Yeah.
And they did that in spades here. I thought the work here was absolutely fantastic. They did a lot with Mina playing to the crowd again because she has really lent into becoming, a character in this, in that a lot of the people you see from outside promotions kind of don't. And granted, not a lot of them have as much time and energy put behind them that Mina has with the video packages and, the more emotional angles and storylines and that sort. But she's taken that and run with it. And then, like I said, I felt like this finish came out of nowhere because, to me, this was the who is Mariah May going to turn on match. And the answer...
Who's going to turn on?
Yeah. I mean, in a different sense.
Works both ways.
Yeah. And the answer ended up being no one.
Both.
Well, in a different sense, both and neither. Because you get to the match, and the finish, and Toni Storm just wins, and then Mariah gets in the ring, having not chosen a side at all, and being like, this was the who Mariah May will choose match. And on one hand, as one of those queer folk that people like to talk about, I like that they went with the direction that they did at the end of Pride and everything. I think that's cute. On the other hand, felt like a little bit of a cop-out of an angle.
Yeah.
And not even just this is what you set up and you didn't pay it off, which I've also kind of, every incident is different, but I've seen AEW set up enough like, ooh, who's going to turn on who? Turns out we're friends thing a few times now. Sometimes I'd rather just get the really hot angle, instead of subverting the expectations. But with this one in particular, I really do think that her turning on either one of these two would have led to more drama in the Owen Hart Cup and therefore Wembley.
Yep.
Granted, they may turn on whoever on Dynamite or whenever, and it'll still be a hot angle. But yeah, I came away from this just going like, oh, I didn't know there was a third option to this.
Yeah, I didn't know there was option C.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's just after the match, Mariah was just like, both of you need to shake hands now, and now both of you need to hug, and now all three of us need to kiss.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
For the gays.
Yeah, exactly. Why not? After that, then, we had Orange Cassidy versus Zack Sabre Jr., which was also very fun. I mentioned this in my edited review earlier on WrestleTalk, and this is, I think, my most head-ass take that I've ever had. The neck snap spot, when we get them between the feet, and then they twist, and it looks like, every single time I'm like, they broke the neck! Every time. And then I'm like, oh, no, actually, it's pro wrestling, isn't it? It's totally fine. But every time I'm like,
listen, man, that's fine.
It just gets me every time.
That's what you're supposed to do.
I know, it's so stupid, though. For like half a second, I'm like, oh, God. Ugh. But anyway, this match obviously had that spot, so it's a 5-star match. So it works. Orange Cassidy in this match, I just want to point out, because these are my first two notes, are the next snap spot gets me every time. And the second one is, that diving DDT is one of the best ones I've ever seen. Because, oh my God. Zack Sabre Jr. landed on his head.
Yeah.
It was great. These two are so good.
They sure are.
God, they were awesome. I love this match. And I think, maybe I think I'm probably in the minority in this one. The first, 10 minutes of this match, I was still kind of waiting for it to pick up a little bit. It was a little slow for me, but it was, good. I was still fine. But the last, 5 minutes, I was like, this is fantastic. I was, on the edge of my seat by the end of this match. There's so many, roll-up and submission sequences through the whole thing. Cassidy proving that he can hang with Zack Sabre Jr. in that technical wrestling department is awesome. The ending sequence was fantastic. And I love when Zack Sabre Jr. wins by just being good at technical wrestling.
Yeah.
When he just gets you and then it's like, cool, and now I'm doing a heel hook and a knee bar and an arm bar at the same time. It's like, wait, huh? How? Love it. And then Orange Cassidy just had to tap. Awesome. Love this match. It was great.
One final note that I forgot to mention on the previous match. Nigel McGuinness standing up weeping at the end.
Very good.
He's the best. Love that, man. Point 2 or 1 for this match.
For this match, yes.
Orange Cassidy with the dark denim.
I know.
Ooh. He's getting angry or something. There's a new side of him that we've not seen before.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like it. Also, Where Is My Mind? Maybe my favorite song right now. Just been listening to it a lot. I really like it when he comes out to that song.
Me too.
This match was again fantastic. Orange Cassidy has a real thing with wrestling great British wrestlers.
Yeah. What's his deal?
He's 3 for 3 wrestling Pac, Will Ospreay, and Zack Sabre Jr. on shows like these. And
what's the through line there? Is it like that they're really good wrestlers or something?
Yeah.
It can't be that.
It can't be.
It's got to be the fact they're British.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's maybe a certain, like, there's an attitude that all three of them in particular bring to a match with Orange Cassidy. And again, I mentioned this in the prediction show, that where Orange Cassidy really shines, like, obviously he's fantastic. We all know this by now. And if you don't, get on board.
Yeah.
You're 3 years behind. This guy will go in there and annoy the great wrestler.
Yeah.
Being Orange Cassidy. And then he'll annoy them more by being a great wrestler who they can't just easily beat. It is a winning formula. It works every single time. And I like that we've now seen it with, like, 2 high flyers, but with different attitudes. And now the technical guy. And it's a different match entirely.
Exactly.
But the same sort of ideologies behind it. This guy is really annoying, but I just can't beat him because he's actually good.
Yep.
I love that as a story. I was really surprised that the early portions of this featured a lot of just Orange Cassidy out wrestling Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah, same.
Sort of in that, like, WrestleMania 21 Shawn Michaels out wrestling Kurt Angle kind of way. Like, I wasn't prepared for you to try and do that, and therefore I'm caught off guard.
Yes.
That's
in a good way.
That's really good. And of course you adjust, and then he's like, no, but I am better at this than you.
Yep.
So once I've had that adjustment period, I will just break all your limbs off. And yeah, this match was just fantastic. That DDT was fantastic. The finish was one of the most horrible looking body contortionist bits of wrestling that I've ever seen. And like you say, it's one of my favorite things about Zack Sabre Jr. Because, yeah, he's got the Zack driver. He's got orienteering with Napalm Death.
Such a good name.
But his best finishes are when it's like, oh, just like, actually one more submission. You know, I've already got 3 of them on, but I think one more will do. Because it's pro wrestling. You can always be like, oh, well, you can get out of the ankle lock like this or the armbar like this. Somebody puts you in what Orange Cassidy was in at the end of the match, you are simply dead.
Yeah. That's it.
Ain't no suspension of disbelief needed for it. He's done.
Yeah.
Serve him up on a platter. Very good match. And it really, like, this was another deal, and a large overarching theme here is how absolutely boned New Japan is and how they have been set up to be with no one to blame but themselves. But Zack Sabre Jr. is the guy.
Yeah.
You don't have very many people that have committed to New Japan like he has, that are as good as he is, that have a level of star power that he has, who have accomplished largely nothing in the promotion. Let's fix that. Have him win the G1. Have him win the world title at Wrestle Kingdom. I'm just saying, you got to do something, because having broken-ass Naito going around one more time isn't going to last forever. I would argue it's not lasting now.
It's a pretty solid argument, I think. So the next match is 6-man tag. Samoa Joe, Hook, and Katsuyori Shibata versus Chris Jericho, Big Bill, and Jeff Cobb. Now, look. I don't want to spend too long on this match because I think there's other stuff that we should spend our time on that was much better than this. I think this was my least favorite match on the card. It features Chris Jericho, and I think those two things are linked. I don't like this loading tree character. I think it's obnoxious, and I don't get anything out of it.
You're getting worked, Pete.
I just don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't like that he thinks he's in on the joke when he isn't. Doesn't do anything for me. So it's annoying and not in a fun way, is what I've written in my notes. However, I did smile a lot when Hook hit a much better Judas effect than I think Jericho has ever hit.
Yeah.
Because that Judas effect looked real good, and then Hook just won, and I was like, cool. Mission accomplished, I guess.
Sure.
There you go. Didn't do a lot for me, this match. There you go.
No. I mean, I have the same rant every time I'm on an AEW related podcast that involves Chris Jericho in any way. You know, I hate this character. I'm over it. I'm done. I would have much rather seen this spot on the card filled with either that trios match from the 0 hour or just Samoa Joe and Jeff Cobb.
Yeah.
You
That
know?
would have been cool.
All the best bits of this match were just them two squaring off. Well, we didn't get that.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Probably because they wouldn't want to beat either of them, which always seems to be the case in these sort of things, and thus we get a trios match. But like you said, don't want to spend too much time on it. You, all the lovely people at home, know how I feel about this character.
Yep.
Sucks.
But I want to talk about something that I loved on this show. It's the TNT Championship ladder match.
Yeah.
I love this match. Mark Briscoe, Konosuke Takeshita, Dante Martin, ELP, Lio Rush, Jack Perry. I thought this was rad. Because it started off really hot, and then it just kept going the whole time. It was awesome. Takeshita, my God, Takeshita.
He's good, isn't he?
He's a bloody good wrestler, that boy. Hitting a brainbuster onto an upturned ladder. I was watching the show in the office this morning by myself, and I still went, oh my God, when I saw that. It was really good. Mark Briscoe, absolutely insane.
A mad lad.
Set up a chair, jumped off the chair onto the middle rope, then is sent on over the top rope to the outside, on a table, through Takeshita through a ladder. Cool.
Somehow
nuts.
It worked.
Yeah. Sure, why not? Takeshita hit a powerbomb through a ladder on Lio Rush. Ow! He hit a blue thunderbomb through 2 tables.
I think might have been the best blue thunder bomb I've ever seen in my life.
Right!
And in the conversation for the best table bump I've ever seen in my life.
Honestly?
The perfect explosion of table pieces.
Such a good crunch.
Yeah. It's the best one I've ever seen not involving Matt Hardy. I don't know why. Matt Hardy got all the best ones from the early TLC matches.
Crazy. The crowd were going insane for Takeshita. They really wanted him to win. So many great spots. They set up a ladder on the apron, which again, Mark Briscoe again, just climbed up, dived over the corner of the ring to a table on the outside, which didn't break this time. Oh, great. Love this match. So much chaos. Jack Perry won in the end, which I think is the right choice. I would have liked it to be Takeshita, but Jack Perry's the right winner. It was really good, and he won by being a dickhead as well, which was great. Just so much fun. So much fun. I watched this and I was like, yes! This is what I needed after the Jericho match. This is the pick-me-up I needed. Great. Love that. Yeah, I love this match. This is great. I think this would have been, as much as I love Danielson and Takagi, this would have been my match that night if it weren't for the main event.
I think that's fair. And I was down on the concept of this match going in, because I think ladder matches are overexposed at this current time and date. But that being said, if you're going to do them, I would much rather the ladder match in question be this, which is just a bunch of the craziest people on the roster, like Mark Briscoe or ELP, who's not on the roster, but you know what I mean, or Dante Martin doing flips, or Lio Rush being the best at what he does, and just having the most dangerous match you've seen in 6 months.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't care for the Young Bucks FTR ladder match from Dynasty because I felt it could have been a tag and would have been better, you know? The addition of ladders to it did not add to that match. This one, having seen it, was benefited by there being a lot of accoutrement around, of the tables, ladders, and chairs variety. This was a hell of a little spot fest. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know?
Awesome.
Love that Takeshita guy.
Such a good time. I want Takeshita to get a proper, meaningful push. Like, he was pushed before. Like, he beat Omega twice and blah, blah, blah. But it hasn't materialized in anything tangible, you know? I want him to go on, like, a big title run or, like, something where he's, like, at the top of the card, you know? Because, goddamn, he's great.
Like, you need him to find an intangible, you're saying?
No, he's been intangible. I want him to find something tangible.
I see.
I want him to be the opposite of us.
Never mind. I heard the word tangible and I was just like, my brain started calculating. Yeah. I mean, that's it. And on a longer form podcast where we don't have another 3 matches to talk about.
Luckily, it's only 2 because we've already spoken about one of them.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I'd probably go into much more detail about Konosuke Takeshita in the last 2 years that he's had and everything, and how I think turning him heel was a colossal mistake. But fingers crossed that we can get something for this guy.
Yeah.
One of the best wrestlers on the roster.
Yeah.
Being one of Don Callis' cronies is not enough.
I agree. We've already spoken about the Mercedes Mone Stephanie Vaquer match. We then got the announcement of Wrestle Dynasty, which is on January 5th in the Tokyo Dome, which is Forbidden Door, but in New Japan.
You fools! Dynasty happened months ago.
In April.
Couldn't pick a different... Anyway.
This is Wrestle Dynasty.
This should be fun!
Yeah, it's Forbidden Door, but again, in the Tokyo Dome.
It's Forbidden Door, but without the six-man tags that feature one person not from AEW.
Now it'll be one person from AEW, and everybody else from the New Japan roster.
Maybe it's just different.
Yeah.
But it seems interesting enough.
Yeah.
I'd like to see one person get added to a 10-man tag involving LIJ.
Sure.
And see them wrestle every other person in just 5 guys or whoever the opposing team would be.
Yeah.
You know?
Sounds
maybe fun. Maybe Hiromu can win back the junior title and face Darby Allin by then.
That'd be cool.
Or just have Desperado defend the junior title against Darby Allin. Have Darby Allin challenge for the junior title on that show.
There you go. That'd be cool. But yeah, we got the announcement. It's AEW, New Japan, CMLL, Ring of Honor, Stardom are all going to be...
Nice.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
We then got the IWGP Heavyweight title match of Jon Moxley versus Tetsuya Naito. This was another match which, it's good. Naito's not the wrestler he was. And that's really unfortunate. It was okay, but I don't really have a lot to say. It wasn't really bad, but it also wasn't really great either. It was just good. Moxley hit a Death Rider, very late kick out from Naito, and he got frustrated and was going to use a chair, but then Red Shoes stopped him, and Naito hit a Destino, and then he won the title back. Naito's the champion once again.
Yeah.
Good. I don't really have many more thoughts. I'm sorry. This match was fine.
I didn't even really think it was that good.
Yeah.
Honestly. They lost each other quite a bit in the later stages. Just like, there was a bit where Naito had him hooked for the Destino and stood there for about 5 seconds until Moxley hit him with an elbow or a knee or whatever he did to get out of it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Naito's cooked. Naito's been cooked for quite a while, actually. It's not as egregious as Tanahashi, where he can't walk, but he's not what he was when everybody fell in love with him. He wasn't what he was 5 years ago, but he's the only star they've got because they didn't build any more stars.
What do you mean? They've got Evil and Sonata.
They didn't have Okada put anyone over on the way out.
Yep.
That could have been on this show. AEW doesn't want to feature guys like Shota Umino or Uemura or Yota Tsuji outside of the 6-man tag on here, or Ren Narita or any of the guys they've got coming up. So we're still here with Naito winning back the title. And I know we said, previously that as soon as Naito put his spot in the G1 on the line here, that he was probably winning the belt back because Jon Moxley's not going to go and be away for 6 weeks to be in the G1 again. But I really think Jon Moxley should have won this match. If that wasn't a problem to deal with, and it was just who's probably going to be better and more interesting to sell a Tokyo Dome main event, I think Moxley taking the title, Shota Umino having a breakthrough performance in the G1, winning it, and having that match main event the Tokyo Dome does a lot more for me than Naito going into the Tokyo Dome again. When we've seen the Naito roll call, he finally got his friggin' moment. Finally got his big title win in the Tokyo Dome. And the whole thing, it doesn't move me very much. And particularly it doesn't after a match like this, unfortunately. It didn't do a whole lot for me. However, the flip side of that is this Jon Moxley fellow. Who I think is rather great. I know some people disagree with that,
which is crazy.
But I think that's nuts. However, this is where my larger problems with the show and AEW in general kind of come into view. When was the last time Jon Moxley had a storyline on AEW television?
Yup. A long time.
It's been a long time. Like, a thing for him to do.
Mm-hmm.
Are we talking like Hangman Page?
Yeah.
Are we talking, if you want to go more recently than that, I guess Orange Cassidy?
Sure, yeah.
Even though that was quickly derailed and everything.
Mm-hmm. It's a long time.
I know he's kind of doing the traveling bounty hunter gunslinger thing, going all the different promotions, and that I think that adds a lot to him.
Yeah.
I think that is a definite plus. But the Blackpool Combat Club isn't a thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're just a bunch of guys that are aligned with one another. They do not have a narrative focus. Jon Moxley, the supposed ace of AEW, doesn't have a narrative focus. And maybe it's okay if it was just the last 2-3 months where he was the champion of another promotion, and you could be like, look, our best guy is being the best over there too. That might be fine. But it's also the 6 months before that.
Mm-hmm.
I'd very much like to see him lock back in, be given a real top spot for Wembley, pick anyone, and just this Wednesday come out and be like, all right, you know what, let's create a story. The same sort of way that last year, after Wembley and after All Out, Hangman Page went to the ring and Swerve's music hit. And they didn't have anything going on before that, but it's like, we're going to start something new from right now. We need that for Jon Moxley.
Takeshita.
Sure.
Do it. That sounds fun.
I need something for this guy. And this kind of goes for a lot of AEW storytelling in general right now. Is a lot of people just kind of like do things.
Yeah.
And I don't have a lot of this will really get the where's the story people excited, but like the overarching narratives need to be a bit more plentiful throughout the card, like they were in the days of yore.
Indeed. But speaking of people doing things, boy, did these two do stuff in the main event. It's Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay, the AEW title. I love this match.
This match was bloody brilliant.
This was fantastic. The crowd were hot for it, and so was I. A very simple sequence at the start. Counters, counters, blocks and all that stuff. You see it a few times in wrestling now. The crowd went mental for it. As soon as they do it, because both guys are so over right now, and this match had so much intrigue going into it, because there was an argument that either of them could have won. Like, there was a genuine argument for it. Like, I personally thought the Swerve was going to retain, but I thought there was a genuine argument that you could have put the belt on Will here. You absolutely could have. And everyone was like, God damn, I love these two wrestlers, and I'd like to see them wrestle. And wouldn't you know it, we've got these two great wrestlers, and they wrestled, and it was fantastic. They went up to the barricade. Swerve was going to hit a pile driver, but instead Ospreay hurricane runted him off. But then later on, we went back to the barricade, and Swerve actually hit the pile driver again. Set up and payoff. It's so easy. There was a really cool sequence of roll-ups and counters ending in a Styles clash. How do you get into a Styles clash quickly?
Like that.
Magic, I guess. There was a really cool Swerve stomp onto the commentary table, which sounded great as well. That
commentary table is not meant to be bumped on. It does not disassemble like the WWE ones. It's
great.
Horrific when they kept doing it too.
Yeah, it's awesome. They had an Os-Cutter for a nearfall, a Stormbreaker for a nearfall, and then my next note is just, F me, dude, this is amazing. Swerve hit the Hidden Blade on Ospreay, which was rad, but then he missed the Swerve stomp, and then Ospreay went for a Hidden Blade himself. He missed, and he hit the referee! Oh dear. This is when... So, I don't hate this. I don't mind this at all. This is my only slight negative on the match, but that is just like I want to see these two wrestle and I don't want shenanigans. Don Callis came out after the ref bump, gave Will Ospreay the screwdriver to say, use it, kill the man. Prince Nana came in to equalize, shoved Don Callis down. Ospreay looked like he was going to stab Prince Nana, actually murder the man, before realizing, you know what, probably shouldn't murder. I'm a good guy now. So, threw the screwdriver away, opted not to use it, but that gave enough time for Swerve to recover. Got back in the ring, house call, Swerve stomp, but it was a near fall, which I thought was really good, because I was like, well, that's the end of the match, which is a bit like, if I want Swerve to win, I want him to win clean, it's a bit of a shame, but whatever. But it was a near fall, and I was like, oh, okay, well, we're still in, this is great. And then they got me back again, because then there was bunch of near falls afterwards, where I was like, surely this is the end. Oh, that's not the end. Surely this is the end. That's also not the end. Really putting over Ospreay, strong in defeat here, but another house call, big pressure, Swerve gets the win, and for me, that little shenanigan side piece, while I'm like the pure wrestling room was like, I want to see my favourite wrestler wrestle, and they didn't do that. They will do that in the rematch, whenever that happens, you know? Maybe that's at Wembley, maybe that's next year, whenever. They absolutely set up a part 2 for this later, which I'm so stoked for, because I think it'll be even better than this one. And this was already brilliant. Love this match.
Yeah. This is the thing, like, I could see your point, and I wouldn't even necessarily counter it, but they very clearly wanted to play the story of Will Ospreay's in a conflict, and this was the way they decided to do it.
Sure.
Might not have been the way that I would have decided to do it, given that neither man at any point tried to go for the Tiger Driver 91.
Yeah.
Which seems very much against the story that had been told. And maybe you don't need to have Swerve hit him with the move and beat him, and then afterwards be like, you all right, Will? Dap him up, leave, pose with the belt. Because that would maybe be a little bit like, yeah, I just killed you, but that sort of thing. And you'd probably have to sell the neck really hard because this is meant to be a super finisher now. So what they decided to do is instead, here, have a screwdriver and stab the man. He didn't do that. So it accomplishes the same goal. Otherwise, this match was just fantastic. It had the crowd, and a lot of the matches on this show didn't. So that had it in its, they had the crowd in their corner for sure. And these guys are just really good at this. Just really good at this.
Just great wrestlers, aren't they?
Yeah, like Swerve, I say every time, has such a unique way of moving, much like a lot of the guys on the 0 Hour show. No one really moves quite like him. There are people that have a level of smoothness that could be comparable, but nobody quite gets in and out of specific kinds of transitions quite like this guy. And when you pair that with someone like Will Ospreay that can hit a Styles Clash out of nowhere, it makes for really quick, exciting, dynamic wrestling. And that, to me, I think is my favorite genre of wrestling.
Yeah.
So this already was winning me over very quickly. And they didn't have to do a lot of work because I was very excited for this match, to begin with. My goodness. This Swerve character, he sure is a star.
Yeah, sure is, isn't he?
He came out with Jim Jones, which was neat. And I'm just looking at this, and I have very much been, on some level with the people saying that since he's won the title, maybe there hasn't been as much of interest for him, what have you. I think this Forbidden Door build has removed me from that opinion.
Yeah.
I think there's been really nice sprinkles of it here and there, like when, the Mogul Embassy turned on him, and then he didn't just get jumped the next show. He took all 3 of them out because he's awesome and he's the top guy, and that's how you book a strong top babyface. But all of this, anybody else tries to do that, I'll put them in the ground type thing, and then Will Ospreay tries it again, and he, takes him out. And then you go to this match where Will Ospreay hesitates, and there's no hesitation in Swerve. I think that storytelling is much more in line with what people fell in love with Swerve, back when he was breaking into houses and such. And his star power just keeps growing. It's not a matter of like, oh, he won the title and now like he's going to have his run. So kind of the same way a lot of people looked at like Hangman's run as world champion the first time.
Yeah.
The only time. But here, I really think he put his name in the hat for like, a wrestler of the year conversation. And he may have been on that list in some form. But this is him really putting his stamp on things. Yeah. This is him going into a top-level main event, having the best match on the show, and just absolutely fully embodying what it means to be the champion of this place. You can't talk about the top guys in the business right now and exclude him from the conversation.
100%.
He's so good. And this story of just 2 young guys that want to be the best, want to be the one to take the responsibility of carrying this company, and they are going to have the best match on the show because they're the two best. That's the gig.
Yeah.
It's simple storytelling, and like I said earlier, with just layering other things on with really effective wrestling, the inner conflict story of Will and his relationship with Swerve and Swerve's lack of inner conflict, those are the really nice character things that can help push this match over the top. But just the story that's built in the promos previous, where both of these guys think they're the best and they don't think the other one is ready to sacrifice what it means to be the best, and then they go in there, have the match, and one of them is right. Mm-hmm. That is pro wrestling, baby, mm-hmm. and I love it. I loved this match.
There's one moment to add on to that towards the end, after Ospreay comes in and Swerve hits a couple of moves in it and he kicks out, post screwdriver angle, where Ospreay goes to hit a hidden blade and he's just spent, like he's exhausted, goes to hit it and Swerve just catches him and he's like, nope.
Gives him a pat on the head.
Pat on the head, just like, not this time, bud. And he gets him down again. After Ospreay kicks out again, though, he looks at him like, Like, there's like a really great like facial moment there where he's like, okay, no, I do need to murder you. Okay, here we go. And then he's going to do exactly what he needs to retain his title. Like, he's like, yeah, I'll go to that place. Fine. Mm-hmm. You want to put me there? I'll go there. And then he murders him with the big pressure at the end, which was great. It's just that little story, like you said, that conflict with Ospreay, which Swerve did not have. You know, he was like, I'm perfectly willing to murder you to keep my title, which is great storytelling. Love that. Overall, I thought this was like a 4 out of 5. Forbidden Door. Like, I really like the bangers on this show. I think there's a lot of great matches on there with the main event, with Orange Cassidy and Zack Sabre Jr., Danielson, Takagi with TNT Ladder Match. Like, those are 4 really, really strong matches on the card. Granted, there are 15 matches on this card, but I don't think any of them were, like, actively terrible or anything, or super detrimental to anybody, but I was like, at worst, it's like, But there's some great stuff to counteract that. So I'd say, like, a 4 out of 5.
I'm probably a bit colder on it than you. I'd probably go, like, 3.5.
Yeah.
You know, if we're going half stars and that such. My thing is, I am always one to go, I do not care how many matches you put on this show. Granted, they do more pay-per-views now than they were doing, but you have the best roster of anyone in the world. Load up the card with great matches. I will not complain. I will complain when I get bored. And I was getting bored at a lot of points on this show, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think the average match quality needs to be higher for you to be able to justify 15 matches getting booked.
That's fair. I can totally see that.
And I'm hoping that it is, because we're going to be at the next one.
Yeah, we are. But let's see what you guys think. Last chance to get in your Omega Chats at WrestleTalk.com/support. Send your messages. We'll read out all the ones that are $5 and up by the time the show goes off the air. Anthony Shibata says, I was at the show last night and the Mercedes match was the only match I was down on. I didn't think she needed the title. Everyone was hot for Stephanie. I hated the decision on her winning both titles, but hopefully story ends with Willow winning both.
I don't think that Stephanie Vaquer was going to win the AEW title for the promotion she's wrestled for, I think, once, maybe twice.
Yeah, probably not.
You know, I mean, they could not have been more blatantly saying she was supposed to win this title a year ago.
Exactly right.
We're going to do that now.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, but hey-ho.
Matt Hennessy has some thoughts, who says, Mercedes is a great wrestler, but her run just hasn't clicked because I think her character work has been inconsistent and there's a lack of clarity on if she's a face or heel. I think turning her heel and giving her a manager to cut promos for her could help. Overall, it was a good 4 out of 5 show. Will vs. Swerve delivered, as did most of the big matches. I think Ospreay's next direction will be MJF, while Swerve will face and lose to Hangman at All In. Chris Jericho needs to go away. He's got the wrong type of heat. Being self-aware that you suck and are washed up doesn't change the fact that you suck and are washed up. Great to have Britt back. All In should be a good time. I do hope AEW learns quality over quantity. If you're doing 9 pay-per-views a year, they don't need 15 matches.
Can't disagree with anything said there.
Yep, I pretty much 100% agree.
The only thing I really wanted to add was that I agree that Mercedes heel-face dynamic hasn't worked, but for a character like that, you need an equal star opposite you to then, you know, if people are really into Britt, do the same thing. It's kind of been the problem with a lot of Toni Storm's matches, where it's like, she's really funny, but she's also a heel, but she's going against somebody that the people don't really care about. So then they just end up sitting there not reacting one way or the other during the match. You need somebody on the opposite side if you are a tweener, sorry, Michael Oku, for that match to work.
Yeah. Vomito Caliente said, Happy Canada Day. As a fellow Chilean, as Stephanie, I was so excited for her. I think it was a combination of Boston sucks and Stephanie rules. Also, triple kisses for everyone.
Hooray.
Amazing.
Come here, Pete.
We don't have a third, I'm sorry.
No.
German Girls Are Cool said, Britt Baker returns. I'm worried for Monet now because we all know how next level Britt's mic skills are. She's really going to bury Monet when it comes to promo. Maybe. We'll wait on that one. We'll see. Do you want to take over for some Forbidden Door related Omegachats?
Absolutely. From Noshua says, Hi guys, it felt criminal that I got to watch Mystico and Lucha Brothers take on LIJ on the pre-show. That was an outstanding match and piqued my interest in lucha wrestling. But did we really need a learning trio match on the pay-per-view instead of this? Jam that jam.
Agreed.
No, we did not. I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
Ben says, quick question, is Naito considered past his prime? Yes. Quite past his prime, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Or did he suffer some sort of major injury the past few years? I haven't watched New Japan for a few years, but he was one of my favorites when I was, and he looked way slower and more out of it than I remember. I don't think, he has not had extensive time off at any point. It's just that the New Japan style is hard, and his knees and his back and everything have broken down severely since his heyday. Yeah. And it was the decline has been rapid, I will say.
Yes.
We are considerably past the point where he was he's fallen off. Yeah. I thought he'd fallen off in mid-2019.
Yep.
And that was 5 years ago. But he still had some bit. I remember writing a bit in a list. I think it was the every 5-star match list of 2022, where he had his one 5-star match of the year with Ospreay at the end of the year. And I was like, that might be the last time we ever see Naito have a 5-star match. Now, granted, it wasn't. He's had another match with Ospreay, in fact. And I think with Okada, he's had a couple of bangers in there. But it was think the storybook is closing here, guys. Yep. And here we are. Yeah. EJO says, G'day, AEW. An Australian logging in to say that Robbie Eagles was awesome on Collision, and I was a little disappointed he wasn't also on 0 Hour and a Half. I might be biased, but he'd be an excellent addition to the AEW roster. Love your work, WrestleTalk, jam that jam. I completely agree.
100%. Robbie Eagles is great.
Said on, I think, podcast on Dynamite last week that he's a guy that I would love to just see get a run. Yeah. He's not doing anything in New Japan, so just have him show up for 3 months. Yeah. If we get to a point where Ospreay's not in a title picture and you need to have him have a 2-3 month feud, bring Robbie Eagles in. Maybe they do a tag run as the Birds of Prey again, and then they have their blow-off match, and then he can leave. That's sort of the benefit of having a promotion that you can work with like this. You just take the guys they don't want for a bit, use them, give them back, and then they're fresh in that promotion as well. Yep. Yeah. Jimmy G has been a member for 33 months in a row. Says top shout out it Ospreay. The emotion on his face in his entrance was heartbreaking. Thoughts go out to him and his family. Forbidden Door was a fantastic show. Yes, I think they said that his grandmother had passed away, I believe. Yeah. So yes, best wishes, of course, to Will Ospreay and all of his kin. D. Grayson 97 says, I was there live last night. Match of the night had to be the main event, but Orange Cassidy Zack Sabre Jr. needs a special mention. That mousetrap counter into whatever the hell that submission was had me and my friends screaming. Amazing show. Agreed. 007 Striker says, I was at the show last night. A lot of you were.
Crazy.
I want to go to live wrestling. I was at the show last night. I know. I was at the show last night, and all I can say is 14 matches is too many matches.
It was 15.
Yeah. I'm still... He probably missed that open.
Probably missed the first one. I only lasted a minute, to be fair.
Yeah. I'm still tired from last night, but I got to see 2 of my favorite wrestlers main event, and many more wrestlers I thought I'd have to fly to Japan to see wrestle live. 10 out of 10.
Fair enough.
I'm glad you had a fantastic time. Spencer Trainer has said, it's the LIW boys. Let's go. I love the show. Call me weird, but I like the length of the shows. I like a ton of great wrestling, and I never get worn out. Easily more than one 5-star match, in my opinion. Swerve versus Ospreay, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Cassidy, and Takagi versus Danielson.
That's fair.
Yeah. I don't know how high I would go. I think the main event certainly was. The rest of them, I could see an argument.
Yeah.
I wouldn't disagree.
Yeah.
Space Viking says, you know, with all these pay-per-views not having Jay White on the card, it's crazy. It's not easy being a Jay White fan in AEW. It's like being a Vegeta fan. Always end up disappointed in the end. Yeah. Why couldn't we have had a trios title match against, like, just 5 guys?
Sure.
Or in this case, just 3 guys.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
Granted, that would be another match on the show, but I'd rather see that than the Jericho thing.
Absolutely.
Anyway, Will Campbell says, hi again, guys. The building was electric during the main event. I bit so hard on multiple near falls, and everyone was cheering for both Swerve and Ospreay. Always love to see Aubrey sprint to the ring. Also, someone please check to see if Paul Turner is dead. That is very, very well said.
Yeah.
My goodness.
It's a great ref bump.
Megatrain says, hope you enjoyed the pay-per-view. I still can't watch because the dumpster fire called BR Live hasn't figured out how to upload the replay. Surfshark.com and get
Surfshark.deals/PFK.
PFK. Make sure you download your VPN and use Fight or Triller, whatever it's called.
Whatever it's called now.
Woods. Andy Sandbox has been a member for 10 months in a row, saying, happy Canada Day, Tempest. Thank you. I'm the Mountie. Edgar Carrasco has been a member for 30 months in a row, saying, Tempest, genuinely want to know if you'll be doing Pogo stuff on your new channel. Hope you had a good Rayquaza raid day. Good luck at GoFest Global. I didn't get a Rayquaza, and I'm mad about it.
Me neither.
Yeah. Can't imagine there'll be much Pokemon Go content on a video games channel, but you might see me walk through throwing Pokeballs or something. Kevin says, can I share a bloodline theory that I've seen online? What if the reason Roman hasn't spoken to Paul is because Solo attacked him after WrestleMania, which is how he got the lei for the ceremony? Also, interesting that they did this angle the week of Sika's passing. I mean, yeah, it may be even more personal. Like, I'm sure Roman will bring that up.
Absolutely.
You know, that the week that my father passed away, the legendary member of the Samoan dynasty and the Wild Samoans, you try and do this and all that. I completely agree. Honestly, maybe Solo did attack him.
Yeah.
I believe this theory as much as any.
Yeah.
Booking Like a Mark says, as we celebrate our podcast 6-month anniversary, I just wanted to thank you guys for always inspiring us with the great content you produce, especially Pete's deep dives into Roman Reigns' historic title reign. Keep up the good work and jam that jam.
Thank you so much.
Indeed.
Thank you.
So long video, that one.
That video was a lot.
But it is worth watching.
Very, very good. Yes.
Got a couple more quick last-minute ones here. One from Bobby G saying, Swerve and Ospreay was great, and for me, I want Swerve to be a long-reigning champion and have Ospreay Swerve 2 at Double or Nothing next year, where Will finally wins the big one. That would be a long reign.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not necessarily opposed to a long reign. I don't know if you need to wait until Double or Nothing next year, but a show, maybe like Full Gear or Revolution, just at some point, like I think that would be a good, solid reign.
Yeah, I agree. Universal Echo says the crowd weren't booing Mercedes, they were booing Boston. It's a generational rivalry. If MJF is always a face in Long Island, then Mercedes will always get heat in New York. That Britt popped, though. They cheered Stephanie and booed Mercedes. I get that she's from Boston, but she's also the wrestler that was getting booed in the ring.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Okay.
Anyway.
Anywho.
It was a thing, but yeah. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
And our rating.
The poll.
Forbidden Door on a poll. 70% thumbs up. 24% mid. 4% thumbs down.
That's pretty
good.
good.
That's about right.
Yeah.
70% up. That's like a B or a B minus or a C if you're in America, which is crazy.
What?
Yeah, their grading scale is really, really weird. Anywho, that is going to do
right?
it. Yeah.
That's it. Well,
that's all the Ultra Chats, Omega Chats, pardon me.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for coming out for this Forbidden Door review. We'll be back tomorrow with an episode of the Raw review. It's going to be Tempest again, filling in for Dan Layton, because he's on holiday. Hope you're having a lovely holiday, Dan. And if you're watching this, why? Go be in the pool, you idiot.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. If you're your first time here and you still haven't subscribed yet, why not subscribe and like the video? We're back tomorrow with more. Thank you guys so much. I've been Pete Cordell, joined by Tempest, and we'll see you guys later. Jam that jam.
Happy Canada Day. Go
Happy
watch
Canada
Worst Match
Day.
Ever of partsFUNknown.
partsFUNknown. Go. YouTube.com.
Oh, Canada. You can hit the button now.